Since I like going back and listening to my old thoughts, I'm currently in the process of re-uploading some of my older videos in order to make them more compliant with YouTube's policies on reused content. But since I didn't want to do a lot of editing, here is the audio from my original review for this movie.
Margot Robbie was easily one of the best aspects about 2016's Suicide Squad, so I understand why Warner Brothers decided to give her character her own spin-off film. The problem is, much like Harley Quinn, the film has a bit of a split personality, going in a bunch of weird directions. This film is technically supposed to be about the Birds of Prey as a group, but it's most definitely a Harley Quinn-centric narrative, and I'll expand upon that in a minute. So the Joker and Harley Quinn have split, and without the immunity of the Clown Prince of Crime, a lot of malicious people are out to exact their revenge on one Harley Quinn, specifically a Gotham gangster by the name of Roman Sionis. And this is my first problem with the movie. Harley Quinn spends a lot of time dealing with, or avoiding dealing with, the emotions that she clearly has over her breakup. She's angered, she's sad, she's lost, she's in a bit of an identity crisis, and she spends the entirety of the film learning to be her own person. You know, the whole emancipated thing. So it feels like, logically, Joker should be the primary antagonist of this film. All of Harley's emotions are targeted at Joker, and yet he's nowhere to be seen. Roman Sionis acts as a weird stand-in for Harley to take her aggression out on, when it should be aimed at Joker. Now, I understand why Jared Leto wasn't involved in the film, but still, I stand firm in that assessment. Anyway, I hate talking about what the movie isn't, so here's what I enjoyed about what the movie is. Harley Quinn's arc is actually somewhat realistic and relatable. She's dealing with some real issues and handling it in a perfectly human way, which is to say, not in a healthy way at all. But she's learning to be a better person, apparently. But that brings me to my next point. Is Harley Quinn a good person? She does some pretty shady things in this film, and I'm supposed to root for her, but it doesn't ever feel like she's actively trying to better herself. Walter White is the main character of Breaking Bad, but he isn't a good guy, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to feel when Harley decides to beat up cops for no reason other than for her own pleasure. But whatever, I guess. It's all supposed to be liberating, I suppose. And that brings me to the other characters in the film, the Birds of Prey. There's Detective Renee Montoya, Black Canary, Pickpocket Cassandra Cain, and Huntress. And they're all fine. This movie is about them, but not really. The Birds of Prey are more of a subplot to Harley Quinn's Emancipation story. If anything, this feels like a prequel to a Birds of Prey film, and this is their origin story, I guess. My favorite tertiary character is Huntress because she has a badass backstory that probably would have made an interesting film in and of itself. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead's portrayal of her was merely fine. And I know she can be a good actress because she was absolutely fantastic in Scott Pilgrim and 10 Cloverfield Lane. So I think the fact that so many characters get overshadowed by Harley Quinn's story, and likewise the actors get overshadowed by Margot Robbie's performance, makes everyone else in the film come across as just fine. The acting in the film felt a bit weird to me, like everyone was just playing a one-dimensional portrayal of their characters. Even Ewan McGregor, one of my favorite actors working today, felt a little cheesy and over the top. I do enjoy his more reserved performances like from Dr. Sleep, and yet Bop is anything but reserved. It felt like someone at Warner Brothers said, just make a movie like Deadpool. And so we got an R-rated film with plenty of language and violence, along with irreverent narration and an often non-linear timeline. And this approach kind of does work for a character like Harley Quinn, but the film overall feels like it was trying too hard to be something it's not. So the narrative is all over the place as a result, and the actors are performing as if they're involved in a Saturday morning cartoon. Even Margot Robbie, who once again delivers the best performance in the film, also suffers from playing a pretty static character. But maybe all of these characters just needed a little more time to be fully fleshed out. And maybe they can get that chance in a potential sequel, since this movie does seem to be getting positive reviews. I'm just not sure if I personally care enough about seeing anyone whose name isn't Margot Robbie return to this universe, especially after seeing how my boy Ewan was treated in this film. But with all of that being said, I can't deny that the movie does feel whimsical and fun by nature. This is probably the vibe of what Suicide Squad was going for. You know, after the studio tampered with David Ayer's original dark and gritty version. So at least Bop does feel like it was made by a filmmaker with a singular vision, and not like a corporation was just churning out shit on a conveyor belt. This is probably the exact story that director Cathy Yan was trying to tell, so I commend her for that, especially since this is one of her first feature-length films. The action in the movie is fun, and for a film that is violent and bloody and rated R, the tone of the film is delightfully lighthearted. I'll take this carefree and breezy, irreverent flick over a drab and dreary and overly serious film like Batman v Superman any day. And that's probably why this version of Gotham looks nothing like the Gotham City we saw in Dawn of Justice. Because fuck it, continuity schmontinuity. DC and Warner Brothers seem like they're less concerned with creating an overarching narrative right now, and more focused on making one good movie at a time, which is a nice way to juxtapose the Marvel movies that are coming out. As long as each individual film is good, the audience will still come. Birds of Prey may not be as fun as Shazam, and nowhere near as good as Joker, but I'm sure it will be fun enough to entertain audiences for an hour and 50 minutes. It may even feel liberating for some people, considering the mostly female cast and the empowering narrative they share. Even I enjoyed the kinetic energy that is present in the film. But once I start thinking about the bigger picture, I start to have some issues. Like, where the fuck is Batman? So I would likely give Birds of Prey and the fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn 2 3/4 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching.